Hello, it's a fun Friday. Looking forward to the weekend? Well, if you're trying to make plans for the weekend as well as the weekends to come, this is it. A monster of a festival. We missed it courtesy of the pandemic, but the good people at India Bike Week are back. Pleased to welcome back into the studio founder and CEO at 70 Event Media Group, Martin DCosta. Marty, good to see you, man.
Hrishi, my old friend, how are you, buddy?
Well, the Hollywood good looks are in place. I trust the motorcycle is well oiled and waiting to go.
It is, well, to be honest, I've literally just been gifted for a month a 790 Duke KTM to use to go to India Bike Week on. So it's a good month for me.
For the first time, Pranav, CEO Petronas Lubricants International India Private Limited. We're very pleased to welcome him onto the show. Nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me here.
I'm very pleased to have the two of you here because India Bike Week is really one of those calendar items for so many motorcycle enthusiasts around the country. 2nd and 3rd of December, Vagator in Goa. Tickets are at, Marty?
2,800 for the weekend.
Now, which platform?
It is on our own website, indiabikeweek.in.
indiabikeweek.in. indiabikeweek.in. Let's start right at the top with the history of the festival. For those of you who've been living under a rock, what is India Bike Week? Where did the idea for it come from? And highlights of past editions.
Well, I mean, the idea came from it wasn't even a meeting really. It was a hotel bar in Delhi with the then head of Harley Davidson, Anup Prakash, and I sitting there drinking whiskey and having a cigar. And he said, "Why don't you do a festival, dude?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds like a damn good idea." And luckily, we'd been talking about doing a bike festival for a while. This was back in 2012, because half the kids in my office all had bikes, and they all used to go out on weekends, and it just seemed this really cool, independent, young, cool thing to do. And so we did the festival in 2013. I came here and met you then, I think, Hrishi, if you remember. And it was about 3,000 people came the first year. And cut to last year, I think last year we did it in December at Ambi Valley. And it was literally the only festival that happened in the whole year, in the whole of India. I think Sunburn happened right at the end of the year. But we took a roll of the dice and just did it, and 5,000 guys turned up. In fact, we had to close the ticket sales.
Sweet.
And that was in Ambi Valley. We're going back to Goa, back to where we belong. And so we're expecting probably upwards of 15,000 people at the festival, bikers at the festival. And we think there'll be about between 30 and 40,000 guys and girls riding down to Goa on their motorbikes on that weekend. So it's become quite a migration, really, once a year. It's the first weekend in December every year, and people plan all through the year for it.
Martin, also the larger events and activations business. I mean, I was, these are all friends of yours. I was at Jairam's IROC gig a couple of Saturdays ago. Packed to the seams, to the rafters. Roshan tells me Spoken is again going to be packed to the rafters. Tickets have already gone out. Gautam Singhania is doing one at the Thane grounds, this coming weekend. Again, the 2nd and 3rd phase all sold out. Ashish and the boys behind Lola are saying, is just flying off the shelf. You think it's because people sat at home during the pandemic, all pent up, frustrated, and this is their big moment to actually go out and enjoy the whole people experience? Yeah,
absolutely. It was that trauma of those 2 years. It was brutal, wasn't it? And that chance that we've all got now to rub shoulders, to feel each other's energy again. It's that, and it's also just the fact that India's changing. I've been here 25 years, as you know, and I've seen.
You're a native, Marty.
My wife is Indian, my kids are Indian. I'm Indian. And I've just, I've seen it go from not being able to sell a single ticket to selling out tickets, and to every event being full, and just a brilliant energy at pretty much every festival and event I go to these days. Magnetic Fields, which is happening I think in December, that sold out in 3 days.
Wow.
I mean, that's like Glastonbury, 12,000 tickets, and they're very expensive tickets. Sold out in 3 days. I mean, you just can't get a ticket now for it. And I suspect we might sell out as well. I mean, we did sell out last December. we might sell out this year as well.
Pranav, and I'm not saying this in an exaggerated manner, but you guys are the real heroes. You know, if corporate sponsorship didn't come in for events and activations, these things wouldn't be happening. So big ups to you for supporting India Bike Week, collaborating with Marty and 70 in such a beautiful manner. But I want to understand a little more about Petronas Sprinter. Let everybody who's listening and watching get a bit of a background on Petronas lubricants. What are you guys all about? And then about the association and how that happened.
Absolutely, I'll take a shot at that. But before, just to respond on what you're talking about, people coming back to the events. I was in Goa last weekend, where we had the Supercross, and it's not just the urban people wanting to go out. I think even in the outskirts of Goa, it was like a carnival. We were like a family with young kids. There were a bunch of people there. Completely, it was a free event. It's all jam packed. It was super fun. Yeah, coming back to what we do. So we are Petronas Lubricants International India. Essentially, we are a lubricants manufacturing and marketing company, globally present in about 90 countries. In India, we've been here since 2006, working with lot of clients here, OEMs. We are in the open market. We have automotive and industrial solutions. Taking a shot particularly at Sprinter. So Sprinter is our motorcycle oil solution, again available across India via distributors, also on Amazon and other channels. The genesis of these products, as you know, the motorsports has been Petronas' legacy for many, many years. So we've been partnering with Formula One, MotoGP, several other racing franchises across the world. And we follow this track to road philosophy, where we experiment on the tracks. We bring those solutions back to the consumers so they can experience those products that have been tested in a very, very trying circumstances on the grueling of the races across the world. Our association with India Bike Week was last year we started. It was the first time in the Ambi Valley when we came out from, like you said, under the rock and started to go out. There was a singular insight there, Hrishi. I think in India we see that there is this uniqueness about the biking community. It's almost like a family outside a family, and we sort of wanted to be a part of it. There are a lot of these biking clubs across the country. They share camaraderie. They go to events together. They spend quality time together, and we just wanted to be part of it. And that's where we thought that IBW and then the other things that IBW does would be a great platform to partner with and reach out to this community, engage with them, and also make them experience what Petronas experience can be all about. And that's how it's come together. I think it's taking its own shape and form. We're doing the chai pakoda rides, Martin. I think 30 of them. Yeah, it's amazing response that we get into those kind of races where we have like 500 slots open. We get a few thousand applicants and we don't know how to manage it. So it's taking its good shape and form, and we really look forward to this event in Goa in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Hrishi.
Sure.
Last year in December, as we know, it was a tricky time for everyone, and we had no idea whether we were going to be able to do the festival, whether it was going to get shut down by the authorities because of COVID rules. And we managed it, according to local COVID rules. But Petronas did come in; they stepped up and supported us, and we won't forget that. I mean, that's for us, it's a really emotional bond now.
I want to just bring in this. I'm curious about this. It sounds wonderful. The Petronas Power Up Zone. What really is that?
So the Power Up Zone is where we will have a special area within the IBW setup, where they can experience our products. There will be some interesting sort of campaigns and this kind of events where they are very interesting prizes, I should say, up for grabs. And given the what we intend to do is that given there'll be a lot of I think the weather in Goa is going to be really hot
in the day.
in the day. So we want to make sure that the people can come here, refresh a little bit, participate in some of these contests and take some goodies home.
I mean, this is a compliment. I mean, there is the great migration in Africa, where all the animals cross over, the wild beasts, and men and their wild beasts at India Bike Week will be part of the great migration. So tell us about the whole experience. What really is so incredible about that?
I mean, it's we get these days. I mean, it's been going on for the last 4 or 5 years, but it's this year especially. It's quite incredible because you've got bikers coming down from from Nepal. They're coming up from Kerala. There are guys that are shipping their bikes in from Saudi Arabia, from Dubai, and riding from Delhi all the way down to Goa. And like I said, there'll be between 30 and 40,000 of these, and they come from all over India. I mean, like literally all over India. There are guys that are coming from Sri Lanka. Well, I've got 4 friends coming out from Europe and America who are going to ride down with me along that beautiful coastal road from Alibag down to Banjim. Just because it's become a thing. It's because the Thai. There's a bike week in Thailand, and they reached out to us. So I know there's a bunch of Thai bikers coming. So it's becoming almost one of the biggest sort of celebrations of biking culture in Asia, and obviously in India, of course.
So I reckon about 15,000 and more bikers riding into Goa this year?
30 to 40,000.
30 to 40,000.
And about 15,000 will actually pay to come in the festival.
I want to talk a little bit about the idea of motorcycling and how it's grown over the years and your support for it. You mentioned very briefly the chai and pakoda rides, but other than that, what are you seeing these days in terms of the growth in the category?
I think it's a brilliant question. Over the last at least 6 to 7 years, if you look at the evolution of biking in India, I think biking started when we were in college, was a commuter segment. So you get your bike when you go to college, and you basically own your dad's money, and then that tells you not to go very fast, wear your helmet, come back before 7, all that kind of stuff. So the commuter biking segment has been the sort of the centerpiece of India's bike market. And for the record, I think India is one of the, if I'm not mistaken, the largest motorcycle market in the world. So bulk of it was this up until I would say start of this decade or start of the previous decade, where we started to see the shift where bikes started becoming a part of a lifestyle as opposed to just a usage. And I think that's where it's aped a little bit from the European markets, where you've seen always, particularly Italy, Germany, you have these big bikes and people care for it and keep it in the garage and take it once a week out. And so I think we're seeing that segment slowly started to sort of take its shape and form over the last few years. And that's why you have different shapes and models of the bikes. You see local bike manufacturers getting into spaces where they were not there a few decades ago. And that's now sort of it's getting that momentum where you start to make it as a part of your lifestyle. Then you have your whole community around it. Then it goes to the next level where you take the whole events around it. And then the bike suddenly starts becoming part of you, an extension of you and your personality. So I think we see those changes happening right in front of our eyes. And that's where one of the things that we've latched on to is to do the Chai Pakoda ride, which essentially is a weekend. So there's a lot of weekend riding culture in India, particularly in the urban centers. So we've latched onto it along with Martin's team, and we see the Chai Pakoda rides as a breakfast ride on Sunday where we gather like hundreds of people, take them to a place, you have a nice breakfast, chit chat about life, come back. And we see this growing, and I reckon and we'll be making some exciting announcements around at the IBW, is to look at some other categories around it. And there could be, mountain biking, there could be family biking, there's so many other categories or subcategories mushroom out of this.
Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Martin DCosta's work, I mean, he's an ideas man, essentially. There's so many vile yet wondrous ideas that emanate from his head. And even apart from 70 in his individual capacity, he set up Olive Bar and Kitchen along with A.D. Singh, Henry Tham, and his lovely wife Sagarika. And the Shkoda Prize for Indian Contemporary Art, India Bike Week, and the Zambala Festival of Yoga and Life Spirit in India are all stuff that Marty and his team have been doing wonderful stuff with. So I know that you're not going to sit back and rest on your laurels. What's new in this edition? What kind of ideas can we see bearing fruit at the festival?
It's interesting because we were in the summer. We went up to this really cool festival in Biarritz, in kind of the south of France, and it's been going about. It's called Wheels and Waves. Again, about 30,000 bikers, girls and boys. A lot of women bikers. A lot of women bikers at India Bike Week this year as well.
They're the bikernis.
Yeah. Anyway, so at Wheels and Waves, what we saw there was that there were these sort of unbelievable races that were happening in and around this festival. In the sense that we were watching these guys on, like a sort of almost a priceless 1925 Harley Davidson, thrashing that machine through mud and sand, racing with other classic bikes. I mean, it was crazy to watch. So it's almost like watching, I don't know what, Gotham Singania in a $1 million supercar, thrashing that car, So it was like that, and there were crowds of sort of 15, 20,000 people watching this. And so we took that idea and we said, okay, now we can do that here in India. That's a really good idea. So this year's India Bike Week, for the first time, in fact, we changed the tagline. It's now, Ride Party Race. Ride Party Race. You come to India Bike Week and we built 5 racetracks at India Bike Week this year. So there's a hill climb, there's a dirt track, there's an adventure trail. And so you can actually register to race your own bike on these tracks, right? And that then begs the question for what we do in the future, because then what I really want to do is we've got 40,000 people there anyway, right? So India Bike Week should just spread across the whole coast of Goa. And you buy a ticket and you can go to sort of 15 different venues.
Nice.
And do 15 different races, different things at 15 different venues. And then eventually, my guess is that we'll do it concurrently on the same weekend in Mumbai and New Delhi and Bangalore. And so it'll evolve like that. So it's going to be really, really interesting. It's going to be very noisy this year.
Music stages, man. I'm the music man. So who are we expecting? Who's going to be climbing on and giving us some memorable tunes? I believe the Easy Wanderlings are back for the attack. Yeah,
they are. DJ Aisha, she's coming. DJ Mojo, Uday Benegal, who you've met a couple of times.
Yeah. Wonderful.
There's a big list of artists. And that Friday, and especially the Saturday night. The Saturday night's crazy. That's when half of Goa turns up and rams themselves into the festival for the music.
There are 3 music stages. So there's Lagori, Easy Wanderlings, Terry Miko, some DJs that Martin just mentioned, and the Jameson Connect and the Club Village.
Yeah,
a great place to meet people, eh?
Yeah, it's a great place to meet people. And there's what we've always done is we've brought in the sort of, I don't know, like the sort of leaders of biking culture here, and they come down and they share their stories, they share their films. So there's a lot of sort of how do I say? I don't want to use the word content, Hrishi, but there's a lot of proper biking culture there, if you know what I mean.
Are we doing the long ride again? The when they share these experiences of went on a few months of riding.
Yeah. So there's a film festival. Indian Bike Week these days, right? It's a bike festival, it's a music festival, it's a food festival, it's a film festival. I mean, it's kind of everything.
And there's a IBW People Ladakh tent. That sounds really, really interesting. And one of your passions, a meat fest. So I take it chefs are going to be grilling, eh?
Literally the best chefs in India, the best barbecue guys in India approached us. And they said, we want to do basically a barbecue grill fest at India Bike Week. And we were like, obviously. I mean, come. So they're coming. It's called the Meat Fest.
Nice.
It'll be great.
And do you like have a shopping or a flea market vibe? Can people just come and pick up stuff at the festival? Yeah.
It's a huge part of India Bike Week. So there's well over 80 brands, stalls, manufacturers, suppliers, whatever, people involved in the biking business. And the other thing we're also doing, I think for the first time, is that you can bring your own gear, right, and your own bike, and put it up for sale at the festival. So you might be able to pick up a sort of Triumph 800 from 2-3 years back at a discount.
Ooh.
There's a shot. There's a chance.
There's a chance. Wonderful. Pranav, just to run you through his career, he spent about 10 years in management consulting, the Boston Consulting Group, Frost & Sullivan, and now with Petronas. It's been quite incredible, because if you look at the trajectory and all the stuff that they've achieved, like he said, INMRC, Supercross races, Petronas' TVS racing team does all these rides on the MMRT track, seeing the action live. So I think for you, it's a natural synergy that you mentioned. But what is your call out to everybody who's listening, from Petronas Printer, the brand as well as Pranav personally, given that you've traveled so much, you've been to so many festivals around the world?
Well, number one, I think the Goa and biking, I think it's a really important combination. I think Goa generally puts you in a different spirit. You do the bike week in Mumbai, it'll not have the same emotions attached to it. So I think it's really coming together with a great location, and like what Martin described, I think it's not just a biking festival. I mean, it's almost everything, where you have from the flea markets to all kinds of stuff, that experience one can get. And I mean, I went for the first one last year, which was kind of like we were just getting started in terms of post-COVID.
Yeah, it's about a third of the size.
Yeah, so this is going to be like almost 3x, 4x of that. So it'll be really, really exciting to come over and enjoy. Just for all of you, I mean, just make sure you have your hotel tickets. Otherwise, you have to sleep on them.
I'm sure a fair share of the punters who come in do that. Set up a tent and just with the bike.
That on the Petronas side, obviously, like I mentioned, racing motorsports is part of our DNA. We've been with Formula One for many years. We're not just a title sponsor, but we essentially run the car runs on all our lubricants, fluids, fuels, everything. So we have a full team, which make sure that the engineering, the fluid engineering behind it is tailored for that. And similarly, we used to have a MotoGP team until last year, where we had 1 year with Valentino Rossi, and that through, again, the spirit of how we want to get into motorsports very closely and work with them. India, like you've just mentioned, Hrishi, I think we've launched the Petronas TVS racing team.
Yeah.
We've had some great successes in this year. I mean, in Goa, we just won the Supercross, one of the categories. So our riders are doing extremely well. And again, bringing that philosophy back to India, we want to groom the local talent, bring in some of those methodologies that we are adopting globally to the Indian setup. And hopefully you would see some good talent from India, getting into the MotoGP, Moto2, 3, or even GP circuits. That's the aim that we have. From the brand, of course, Sprinter, it's a track to road philosophy. I think that's the core of it. Whatever you guys get in the bottle has been tested in the most extreme kind of environments, and it's withstood that. So, go ahead and experience that. I think we will have some experience booths at IBW as well. So we look forward to engaging with people who want to know a little bit more about the lubricants and that kind of stuff, which is usually under the radar.
You do have bike experts also coming in and doing talks, isn't it? I mean, loads of that happening. I want to tell everybody who's listening and watching that it's absolutely safe. Roadside assistance, SOS, everything, Marty?
Yeah, everything. So there's a whole network of support system for everyone who's riding down to Goa. So we're working with Kogo on that, and so that there's a hospital and ambulance and all those all that detailing has been done. You just have to log on to our website and you can sort of figure out how you want to ride down to Goa. And then in Goa itself, of course, we this because you've been to our festivals, Hrishi. We run really clean festivals. We pride ourselves on no litter, on everything being clean properly. But just that basic hygiene, because we've all been to events which have just not been like that, and it's a bit grim. So, at our events, we put a huge amount of effort into making it, really user-friendly, really fun, clean. Yes, Joey, I love it.
Come home to the wild, India Bike Week in association with Petronas Sprinter, 2nd and 3rd of December at Vagator in Goa. Tickets are at indiabikeweek.in. That's indiabikeweek.in. They're going out fast, so go right away. And also hit the website up because you can ride your way there and they'll tell you lots of fun ways to do that. Even when you reach there are secret trails, there's kayaking, there's lots of other stuff to do. Get your flavors of Goa in. Gentlemen, before we say bye, just a lifestyle question. I mean, Pranav, you worked in all corners of this globe. I look at the last 2 decades of your life, the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, China, USA, Indonesia. It's been an exciting ride. Is there a travel destination that you've been to off late, post the pandemic maybe, that you said, wow, this is amazing?
I had this aha moment. I mean, it's uncanny you asked me the question. I think 4 weeks ago, I was in Helsinki for my first time in Finland. And it was a transit, so I was not destined to go there. And something happened with the flights and I had to stay back a couple of days. And I really fell in love with the city, Helsinki. It's just very uniquely different, I guess.
Have you been to Reykjavik?
In Iceland?
Unfortunately, not yet.
That's a good place.
That's going to be one
place on weekends.
Maybe one step ahead.
Yeah,
what spoke to you about Helsinki? I mean, it's different, you said, but what did you find?
One is it's compact. So you have cities that are compact, so you're able to sort of walk your way around it. Secondly, you take a 10-minute boat ride, you're into a UNESCO heritage centers, those kind of stuff.
Wow.
So great sort of walk-in friendly, clean. You can do a bit of culture, do a bit of food. I like fish, so it's just really fresh salmon there. And all of it's in a shape and form where you don't need to really go too far and spend your time on the road so much.
What about you?
Not one place, but I'm going to give you a little tip here.
Yes.
So I live between Rome and Mumbai. And in Rome, they introduced these electric bikes that you can just sort of rent for a couple of euros, whatever. So they did the same thing in London, and it completely transformed my view of London.
Oh, lovely.
Because, like in the old days, you're in, I don't know, West London, you want to go to Leicester Square or whatever. So you get on a tube, walk down all those corridors, or take a bus or get an Uber. All a bit painful, yeah. These days, you don't. You just get your mobile phone, you walk up to an electric bike, get on it, and with no effort at all, you're there in 20 minutes. And you're seeing
wow.
Nice.
And it's just completely transformed Rome, Milan, London, Paris. I mean, all these European cities that now have these bikes. It's a revolution. I mean, it really is fantastic. I love it. Little tip, Rish.
Q for the administration right here in India, in Mumbai and other urban metropolises. Wonderful. Guys, always a pleasure, Martin. And wonderful to meet you, Pranav. Thank you so much for making the trudge. Cheers. And see you guys soon.
Yeah, everyone have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
One world, your station. Radio